That concludes oral questions. Call on Government Order of the Day number 1.
Taxation, Neutralising Base Erosion and Profit Shifting Bill, first reading.
I call the Honourable Stuart Nash.
I move that the Taxation, Neutralising Base Erosion and Profit Shifting Bill now be read for the first time. I nominate the Finance and Expenditure Committee to consider the bill.
The question is that the motion be agreed to. No, the member sat down. That's the end of his call. Is there anyone else want to speak on it?
Jesus.
A point of order. Can I ask everyone to settle down, please? The Honourable Chris Hipkins.
Speaker, I think the member may have been confused because of the amount of noise and the number of members moving around the chamber. I think you should give some leeway for the fact that there were members walking all around the chamber while he was trying to move the motion.
I'm going to give some consideration to that. I'm trying very hard not to be influenced by the breaches by at least 6 members on my left, including the acting shadow leader of the House, of the very clear rules that members do not interject during points of order. I am reluctant, but members have been in the House long enough, and ministers should know that when they are moving motions and moving to debates, they do not resume their seats, because the Speaker quite properly assumes that when a minister sits, he or she has finished their speech. A point of order, the Honourable Chris Hipkins.
I wonder, as they are 2 separate items of business, moving the motion and then delivering the speech, could you point to the standing order or Speaker's ruling that says a member may not sit between those 2 separate items of business?
Well, the problem that the Leader of the House has is that after the member sat, I looked at him to ensure that he wasn't going to go on. I put the question, which then absolutely concludes the original speech. Now, I'm trying to look for a way out of it, and the minister might want to seek leave. I don't know what the mood of the House would be for that. But ministers do have a responsibility for reading the drill sheet and for understanding it. And as I say, I looked at the minister, and he did not stand up before I put the question. A further point of order, the Honourable Chris Hipkins.
Be that the minister did not stand because he could not hear you putting the question. There was such an amount of noise at the end of that. How would he have known?
Well, of course, Mr Hipkins, by the time that I had put the question, at that point it was too late. All right? It didn't really matter whether he heard me or not, because we were beyond the point where he could continue. So I think a point of order, the Right Honourable Winston Peters.
The problem with that ruling is that I'm holding here an advice sheet from the Clerk of the House on this very matter, which suggests that the person puts the motion, then seeks your advice as to what happens after that. They can sit down while they're waiting for you to deliberate whether they should proceed or not, and then they start their speech, and it's all written out here. Now,
I also have the drill sheet in front of me, and what it involves is some advice to the member, which not only says that he moves the bill the first time and that he nominates a committee, but that he speaks there, and then after that the Speaker says the question is that the motion be agreed to. And we are now past that point. I will hear the Honourable Clayton Mitchell, but I just want to. Sorry, I will hear Clayton Mitchell, but I want to say that I have now ruled on the matter, and I think we're beyond going backwards. I will point out, of course, that any other member in the House, if the minister thinks there's vital information in his speech that needs to go on the record of the House, he can pass the speech to another member to give later in the debate. Clayton Mitchell.
Sir, and I do understand your ruling, sir, but in light of this being a new bill and people back home watching on TV that would like to know the context of this bill, we would seek that the minister got to articulate this, because it's the one and only time that a minister can actually read a speech in the House to articulate all the fine points that are within it, and we ask for your leniency on this so that the minister can actually read out.
No, I have ruled on the matter, and I have indicated that if there are matters within the speech that the minister thinks are important, that need to be outlined, then the next speaker from the government can in fact deliver that speech. A point of order, the Honourable Stuart Nash.
Mr Speaker, can I seek leave to give a first reading speech on the Taxation, Neutralising, Base, Erosion and Profit Shifting Bill?
Is there any objection to that process? Yes, there is objection. The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Probably about democracy.
A point of order, the Honourable Chris Hipkins.
Mr Speaker, I wonder whether you could give some consideration, because it's not the first time that we have had a situation after question time where members speaking have been unable to hear themselves speak, whether in fact you might adopt the practice that has been adopted by previous speakers of encouraging members who are leaving the House not to have conversations in the House, so that issues like this will not happen again in the future. I think it's rather unfair to single one member out when in fact this has happened most days after question time over the last few weeks.
Yes, and I will do that, but I will seek the assistance of the Leader of the House and the government whips, because if there was any problem with the minister understanding and being able to hear, it came from members around him. Stuart Nash, you're beginning to try my patience a little bit.
I understand, Mr Speaker. Mr Speaker, in my defence, what happened is I could not hear myself think. You looked around...
Member will resume his seat. We're finished with that matter. The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Mr Speaker, thank you very much. Mr Speaker, I rise to speak to the Taxation, Neutralising, Base Erosion